Welcome everybody. I am 6am Comics, and this is reviewing my 9-year-old's comics. We got a fun one for you this week. It's a character we're all familiar with, but with a slightly different approach, and to my knowledge, no real connection to any of his Worldwide Comics counterparts. I'm assuming you've already read the title of this episode, so allow me to introduce to you the latest iteration of Super Charlie. Let's do it. Beginning with the overall presentation, I have to be completely honest and just point out that this is a reprint of the original comic. I try to avoid printing out copies for reviews, however the original pages were given as a gift from Nolan to his grandmother for her birthday, and I don't think anybody would have appreciated me robbing my poor mother for this review. I mean, I guess I wouldn't have to steal it from her. It is my mom. I could have just asked to borrow it. I probably dropped the ball on this one. I think it'll be okay though. In any case, the cover is beautifully illustrated and colored using alcohol-based markers. Super Charlie has honestly never looked better. This entire book features some of the finest artwork from Nolan that I've ever seen. The interiors are drawn in black and white with marker and some very nice paneling work. Somebody's been putting that T-square to good use. High quality lettering with a minimal amount of typos, but certainly not free of them. And the illustrations themselves are both detailed and exaggerated, making for a nice blend between Nolan's more cartoonish style and his more realistic approach. The story itself is one of the most unique tales ever produced by the author. It's outlandish, it's humorous, and it's bizarrely emotional. You know what, let's just read it so you can see for yourself. Now, before I get started, I should point out that although we've tackled a number of Super Charlie media on this channel, this story is completely unrelated to any of that. It's a self-contained story and has no relation to the original 3 short stories, nor does it have any ties to Ultra Charlie or any Super Charlie cameos that take place in the Super Nolan comics. With that said, let's continue. Like I said, this is a unique one. We open the book and are greeted with 2 verses of scripture within the interior cover. The first is Psalms 10:1. Lord, you seem far away, and evil is near. Why do you stand so far off, as though you don't care? The second is also from the book of Psalms, 16:1 to be precise. Keep me safe, Almighty God. I run for dear life to you, my safe place. While mostly unrelated and seemingly random, these 2 verses actually capture the tone of this book very well. A sense of dread and melancholy, followed by an uplifting message of hope and safety. In a way, these 2 verses capture the essence of a hero's journey. The dark, oppressive setup, followed by the presence of a protector, somebody to run to. I don't know for certain that this was intentional. I suspect these are mostly random verses from a book Nolan is familiar with, but it's an interesting parallel nonetheless. Moving on to the story itself. Once upon a time, there were 3 dogs. They loved to play. Don't be deceived by the presence of a 4th animal, it's not an extra dog. Roxy, who was female, Charlie, a male dog, Boomer, another male dog, and Pigson Van Gogh, the dog's favorite toy. Their owners, a male and a female. If you watched my reviews of the original Super Charlie short stories, you'll recall Roxy, who was known as Mega Roxy at the time. You might also recall that Charlie and Roxy were based on the real-life dogs of myself and my parents. Charlie being our dog, Roxy being my parents, and Boomer being their other dog, who I haven't mentioned until now. All 3 are boxers. Being that the 3 dogs are based on real-life pets, I'll go ahead and point out that the 2 owners in this panel are based on my parents. So, moving on. Roxy is 8, Charlie is 8, and Boomer is 9. I'm sure my dad was super flattered by this particular drawing. One fateful day, as they were being walked, Charlie spots a glowing strange McDonald's wrapper on the ground, and naturally licks it. Gross. Accurate though. And gains superpowers. I like that despite the fact Charlie is levitating off the ground and shooting lasers out of his eyes, the owners are oblivious to this. Boomer spots a glowing Chick-fil-A fry and eats it, hoping to get superpowers as well. He starts feeling kind of sick. Roxy just walked along. The next morning, Boomer was very sick. One of the owners took him to the vet. And Boomer was there buried. Yeah, this is actually a rough panel to read because the real-life Boomer actually did pass away a while back. I try to keep these videos light, but yeah, that was a dark day. No, he didn't die from a bad French fry. Honestly, that dog could have eaten a Brillo pad and been just fine. Roxy was too dumb to know what happened. He wasn't being mean-spirited here. Roxy, she's She's not exactly the brightest bulb in the deck. We love her though. She's a good girl. But Charlie was now smart.
Boomer was put down. My best friend. At least I have Pig and Roxy and my owners.
And so Charlie dedicated his life to Earth. He found special superhero undies for dogs and a cool cape. He then became the Super Charlie. Look at that hero shot. Glorious. Charlie Xavier Brown is Super Charlie. Aroo! One day, in a factory, a drop of nuclear elbow sweat dropped into a Gatorade in the making. That's nasty. Who has sweaty elbows? And the grandmom drank it. Got a little kick to it, sonny! And her elbows became razor sharp. Clearly suffering temporary psychosis from this radioactive sweat, the grandmother declares, I feel like I want to destroy Super Charlie. I am the... Dramatic pause. Elbow! Yes, sonny! Elbow leaps into the air where Super Charlie is flying on patrol, lunging her razor-sharp elbow in his direction. Super Charlie looks on, confused by the random confrontation.
I understand nothing of this,
he thinks to himself as the elbow misses his head with her attack. Oh, Goofy, I missed, sonny!
Good thing we're above a pool,
Super Charlie comments as the superpowered grandmother proceeds to fall from their great height and into the pool below. The end. Well, that's the end of the main story. Shortly after completing the book, my wife, having loved the book, suggested Nolan make a follow-up. While Nolan has actually started a second issue, he made the following strip as a joke in response to his mother's request. One time, Super Charlie blew up the Earth. And as we can see here, there's a before and after shot of the Earth before Super Charlie blew it up. The end. That's a bad dog. He also made a second strip about the apparent male owner of Super Charlie. Basically, this was Nolan being a little punk and poking fun at his grandfather after he hurt his ankle and was temporarily forced to, scoot around in a scooter until he healed. He cheekily named the comic Scoot, and it's narrated by the scooter being ridden around by my poor, ridiculed father.
Hi, I'm Scoot. This is my dumb owner, Grampy. He takes me everywhere he goes.
Duh.
And boy, have I seen some things before.
In any case, these strips weren't included in the original book, but I figured since I was printing out a copy anyway, I'd go ahead and include them because they're kind of related and they made me chuckle. But back to the actual story. From start to finish, the entire experience of reading this book is like a roller coaster, and it stands out more than any worldwide comics entry to date. The beginning almost comes off as nonsensical. 3 dogs out for a walk, one licks a food wrapper and begins flying and shooting lasers without his owners noticing. Then it goes for what appears to be a joke when another dog eats a piece of trash off the floor in an attempt to gain similar powers, only to become ill. However, the punchline never comes, and Boomer's passing from the rotten food is explained in such a melancholy way that you almost forget the ridiculousness of what just happened one page earlier, and feel an overwhelming sadness as the poor animal is laid to rest by its loving owner. But before that single tear you're about to shed can hit the paper on the comic, you're hit with a different punchline altogether as we realize Roxy has just been completely and ignorantly aloof of the entire situation the whole time. But you're not allowed to laugh yet, because now Super Charlie is monologuing, mourning the passing of his comrade and finding solace in the family he has left. But there's a trace of humor as you remember that he is still a dog and he's including the toy pig amongst his family members. From here you're thrown full force into an actual comic book. A superhero canine takes to the skies to defend the city. A villain is born from unexpected radioactive circumstances. And it all comes to a hilarious conclusion as the newly created villain miscalculates her attack and finds herself defeated and floating in a kiddie pool while the hero of the book attempts to process what just happened. It's nonsense, it's humor, it's tragedy, it's just glorious. Now, following my read-through of this book, I was left wondering if this villainous grandma is the female owner we were introduced to earlier in the book. If you're reading this from the outside of my family, you'd never suspect the two were similar. There's no indication that the dog's owners are old, young, or something in between. However, with the insider knowledge of this book being a fictionalized version of our family, I know the owners are intended to be my parents, aka Nolan's grandparents. I also know that the elbow is an inside joke about my mother having razor-sharp elbows. So with that knowledge, it stands to reason that this woman and the woman at the beginning are the same person, which kind of makes the story even more of an emotional roller coaster. This fictional family has suffered enough tragedy already with the loss of Boomer. Now take into consideration that the other dog is, well, kind of stupid. Now we learn that the female owner has become slightly imbalanced due to some bad Gatorade and actively seeks to kill a superpowered dog that she doesn't realize is her own beloved pet. It's not even clear that Super Charlie is aware that this is his owner. I mean, she's wearing a mask. It's both humorous in its execution, but heartbreaking in its analysis. Now personally, I'd like to see this origin retconned into the main Worldwide Comics Super Charlie timeline, and it's not too far-fetched of a concept. Feeling he's not safe in the original home, Super Charlie could run away, only to be taken in by the newly established Super Nolan. From here, he could have a complex rivalry with the Elbow, giving his character a real arch-nemesis, one that challenges him ethically given his relationship to her. Again, it would require a retcon given the original Ultra Charlie origin tale is wildly different from this one, but retcons happen all the time in comics. Come on, Nolan. Do it. Make it canon. And there you have it, Super Charlie. Look, if I'm being completely honest, this is officially my favorite comic in the Worldwide Comics archive. It's funny, it's heartfelt, it's nonsensical, it's epic. It's so good that for the first and probably last time ever, I'm actually going to give this a normal rating. I'm going to go ahead and give it a 9 out of 10. I can't give it a solid 10. There's just too many typos. It'd be wrong. Look, I'm trying to take this seriously, people. Anyway, sub it, like it, share it. I'm out.